Number 1, solve using any method. So 2x squared plus 3x is equal to 5. We want to get x by itself. So subtract 3 on both sides. Then divide by 2. And then the opposite of squaring is the square root. So take the square root of both sides. So x is equal to positive or negative 1. Remember that 1 times 1 is 1, and also negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. So that's why we have two answers. For number 2, solve 2x minus 5 divided by 3 is equal to x plus 2. First thing you want to do is clear the fraction by multiplying by the denominator. We're going to multiply both sides by 3. These 3 on the left, those go away because you have 3 divided by 3 is 1. So that's go away. On the right, you have to use the distributive property. So now you have 2x minus 5 is equal to 3x plus 6. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And then subtract 6 on both sides. So x is equal to negative 11. What is the parallel slope to y plus 6 is equal to 7 times x plus 2? Remember, parallel lines have the same slope. I don't know where this came from. There you go. So if they have the same slope, you just have to find it from the equation. I'm looking at the equation and it's in the form, it's in the point slope form, which is y minus y1 is equal to mx minus x1. So that means that the slope is this number here. The slope is 7. What is the perpendicular slope to y plus 1 is equal to negative 4x minus 5? Again, I see that the equation is in point slope like the one above. So here's the slope that's given. But the perpendicular slope has to be opposite reciprocal. So to negative 4, you change it. Opposite of negative is positive. And then you flip the 4, which turns into 1/4. Okay, so the slope is positive 1/4. Number 5, graph 4x plus 2y is equal to 6. Okay, the easiest way to graph this is if you solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. Put the x in the front because that's where the slope goes. Okay. And then I'm going to divide everything by 2 to get the y by itself. So y is equal to negative 2x plus 3. Okay, so now it's in the form y equals mx plus b. So it's easier to graph. The y-intercept is 3, and then the slope is negative 2. So I'm just going to sketch a graph here. So I have 1, 2, 3. This is my y-intercept. And my slope is negative 2, so I'm going to go down 2 and run 1. Okay. And then I'll draw my line through those 2 points. Number 6, write the equation of the line that goes through the point 5, -1, and it is parallel to y equals -2x plus 4. So again, it's parallel, so it's going to have the same slope. Here's the slope here. And it has to go through this point 5, -1. So this is x1, y1. So the equation of the line, so let's write it in point slope form since we have a point and we have a slope. 5 minus y1 is x minus x1. So it's going to be y, the opposite of -1 is +1. The slope is -2. X, the opposite of 5 is negative. Number 7, x squared minus 10x plus 24. We need to factor this. So I'm looking for numbers that multiply to the middle term. I'm sorry, that add up to the middle term and multiply to the last term. So numbers that add up to -10 and multiply to 24. So I know 4 times 6 is 24, but 4 plus 6 is not 10. But -4 and -6 add up to 10 and multiply to 24. So your factors are x minus 4, x minus 6. Okay, B, looking for numbers that add up to 0 and multiply to 140. So I know 12 times 12 gives you 144. I'm sorry, not positive 144. We need to have negative 144. It's negative, right? So 12 times 12, but one of them has to be negative to get negative 144. Negative 12 times plus 12 is also 0. So your factors are x plus 12, x minus 12. Last one, looking for numbers that add up to 16 and 39. Those numbers are 3 and 13. When you're thinking of these numbers, I suggest you start with multiplication to narrow it down. Number 8, you're going to solve the equation here. You have this massive equation to solve. Okay, first thing you want to do is the distributive property. So distribute 6 here, add the -3 on this side. So 6x minus 6 is 5, and then -6x plus 15 equals 12. Okay. Now we're going to combine like terms. The 6x and the -6x is 0. Okay, that goes away. We still have to combine the rest of the terms. So -6 plus 5, that's -1. And -1 plus 15 is 14. So you're left with 14 is equal to 12. And since these two are not equal, there's no solution. Okay. Number 9, solve and graph on a number line. Okay. So first, we want to get the absolute value by itself. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. Then we're going to divide both sides by 2. So now that they have two values by itself, now we would go ahead and split it. Okay, we're going to split it into 2 columns. I'm going to do it up here. First one you copy is just that's how you see it. You just drop the absolute value symbol. So x minus 3 is less than 3. And then the one on the right is still going to be x minus 3. But you're going to flip the inequality from less than to greater than. And you're going to negate the number to change it from positive to negative 3. Okay. Now you're going to solve each one for x. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So x is less than 6. X is greater than 0. X is less than 6. X is greater than 0. So on the number line, remember these are open. The symbol here is the open one. You put open dots, and then it has to be less than 6, greater than 0, so they're going to connect in the middle. So we solved and graphed it. Sketch the graph of the linear inequality seen here. Okay. So again, we're going to solve. We're going to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. Remember to put the x in the front. And then I'm divide everything by -1. And remember, when you divide by negative, you have to flip the inequality. Okay, so my y-intercept is -1, my slope is 5, and this symbol here tells me that I need to draw a dashed line. Okay, so here's my graph. My y-intercept is -3, which is down here. And then my slope is 5, so I'm going to go up 5, run 1. Okay. And again, make sure you draw a dashed line. Now you have to shade one side of the line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test. So I'm going to test 0, 0. I'm going to plug in 0, 0 into the equation, into the inequality. And if it's true, then I shade on that side. If it's false, I shade on the other side. So I'm going to test it here. So 5 times 0 minus 0, less than 3. So 0 minus 0 is 0. So since this is true, you shade this side. So 0, 0 is here on the left side of the graph. So you're going to shade the left side of the graph. Okay, and that's your answer. Everything that's shaded is your answer. Number 11, rationalize the denominator. So To rationalize the denominator, that means that you want to get rid of the square root in the denominator. To do that, you multiply by that number on top and the bottom. So I want to multiply by the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. Okay. So that leaves me with 5 square root of 2 up top and the square root of 4 in the bottom. If two numbers have a square root symbol, you could multiply them with each other and put them both under the radical. Like here, 2 times 2 is 4. But since the 5 and the square root of 2, they don't match up, you just write them next to each other. And now I could simplify because I know what is the square root of 4. The square root of 4 is just 2. And there you go. I rationalized it. I rationalized the denominator. I got rid of the square root symbol in the denominator. That's what it means. Number 12, find the slope between the points 5, 8 and negative 1, 12. So remember the slope formula, x1, well actually, x2 minus x, no, sorry, the y goes on top. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to label the points. Okay, so now I'm going to substitute the values in. So the slope is 12 minus 8 over negative 1 minus 5. And then you simplify. 12 minus 8 is 4. Negative 1 minus 5 is negative, oops, is negative 6. Positive divided by negative is going to be negative. Okay, so negative. And then 4 over 6, you could simplify that. You could divide the top and the bottom by 2 to get 2 over 3. So my answer is negative 2 over 3. 13. Let f of x equal to 5x minus 1. Which of the following points would be a point on the graph f of x? Select all that apply. Okay. So in order for it to be a solution, you should be able to substitute the values in and substitute the x value, and then whatever it simplifies to, you should be able to get the y value. So for example, if I plug in 0, so if x is 0, 5 times 0 minus 1 is 0 minus 1, which is negative 1. You see how it does not match with the y value? So this one is not on the graph. Okay, let's try f of 1. 5 times 1 minus 1 is 5 minus 1, which is 4. So you see how it matches? So this one's yes, so B works. Have negative 1. F of negative 1 is 5 times negative 1 minus 1, which is negative 5 minus 1, which is negative 6. So that's a no. F of negative 2, 5 times negative 2 minus 1 is negative 10 minus 1, which is negative 11. Yes, matches. And then f of 1/5 is equal to 5 times 1/5 minus 1. 5 and 1/5, well, the 5 simplifies, you have 1 minus 1, which is 0. So that's another yes. So this one has 3 answers. Uh, 14. In which quadrant would you graph the vertex h of x is equal to negative x plus 2 squared plus 7? So the vertex, so we need to find the vertex. Luckily, it's in vertex form. Remember that vertex form is a x minus h squared plus k, well, where hk is the vertex. So the opposite of this number, comma this number. So opposite of 2 is negative 2, comma 7. So basically the question is asking where, in which quadrant is negative 2, 7? I know negative 2, 7 is here. Now you just have to remember which quadrant it is. Remember the names of the quadrant goes like this. You start on the upper right, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be quadrant 2.